Go ahead, Marsha.
Okay. Aloha, East Honolulu, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. And we kind of miss having big rallies and all of the things that go into having a rally. And Cynthia and I were talking about it this morning. When it rained, just think that, oh, wow, we didn't have to worry about being outside in the rain. So, but I guess this is the new normal. And today is an opportunity for people in East Honolulu to meet everybody, other people in East Honolulu. From some of us, we've been together since 1982, which is a long time to call ourselves East Honolulu. And then there's some that are new. So I would like to start with Tommy Waters. Where are you, Tommy? Can you unmute?
Unmute. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for
Aloha.
putting this on. I'm so happy. We actually have a pretty good turnout. What would you like me to start with,
Well,
Marsha
first of all,
Joyner?
Tommy, tell us you are City Council District 4, is that correct?
Correct. So Honolulu City Council District 4. I'm a freshman council person. My district includes all of Hawaii Kai, all the way out to the Ewa end of, the Ewa end of Ala Moana Beach Park. So it's a huge district. It cuts through half of Kaimuki, half of Kapahulu, all of Waikiki, and above the, those new apartments that they've built above Ala Moana Shopping Center, and new apartments that they want to build above Ala Moana Shopping Center, which is something I wanted to talk to you folks about it at the right time. But I just marked my first year as your council member, and I'm so thankful for you all for helping me get elected. I'm really enjoying it. I like to think that I make an impact on the council, and I'm happy to go through. I hope you all got my recent community newsletter where I outlined all the basic bills that I championed, as well as the capital improvement projects that we put in the budget for our district. But again, I don't want to monopolize this conversation. You let me know how much I can talk. Okay,
we'll come back.
Terrific. Thank you.
Our state senator, Stanley Chang. Again, Stanley's been with us forever. So welcome,
Right
Stanley.
out of college.
Yes. Stanley?
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for organizing this, Marsha, and to Aaron for setting up the Zoom. It's great to see so many familiar faces and old friends on the call. As Marsha mentioned, I represent the area from, the majority of Hawaii Kai, all the way out to the Diamond Head area in the state Senate since 2016. And many of you folks worked very hard to get me there in 2016. So hoping for a similar result this fall.
And that's right, you have a challenger this time.
That's right.
Well, that's why you're here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, we'll be back to you to talk about issues. And next would be District 19, BERT Kobayashi.
Hi, Marsha and everyone else. BERT Kobayashi, representing Diamond Head, Kahala, Kaimuki, and Kapahulu, with the H1 freeway as the Mauka boundary.
Now, we're going to come back to you because you have Wailea Avenue and all those small businesses. So I really want to talk to you.
I do not have Wailea Avenue.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
H1 highway is the Mauka boundary.
So you don't have anything above the highway?
Right.
Okay.
That would be, above the highway would be the Palolo District, number 20.
All right. So, and our star, Mark HASHEM, which is District 17. 18. No, 18. I'm sorry. I did it right.
18.
18. 18. I'm
Yeah,
trying to keep it in order.
I'm Mark
Okay.
HASHEM. Yeah, I'm Bert Kobayashi is actually neighbor. So where his district ends at Kahala Mall, my district goes all the way out to basically Kahala Mall to Costco. That's the easiest way to remember. And I've been in office since 2010, and basically Senator Chang and I have been started our political career together. I remember when we were sign waving by Kalani High School together. I mean, time just goes by so quick. And I just want to thank you guys for all your support for over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we don't have a Democrat in District 17. So we will go to our would-be Democrat in District 17. Keith, would you introduce yourself?
Glad to. Aloha, everyone. Thanks, Marsha, for arranging this. I really appreciate it. Let me see, just a brief background about myself. We've lived here, my wife and I, Diane, since 2002 as residents of Waikato. I don't know if I should go in with some background if you want, Marsha, but you know, most of my career has been in the private sector. Although recently in the last 3.5 years, I've been working with the state at DAGS, and I had some dual roles there as acting public works administrator as well as the audit administrator. But that's just a brief background of my work professional experience. And if you want, I can go into more detail later on as you go forward.
Yeah, we'll come back. And now we have a challenger in District 18. And Tommy, another Tommy. Thomas or Tom, which is it? Driscoll. Unmute, unmute. We can't hear you.
Okay.
There you are.
All these different buttons, mute, video. Okay.
Yes.
No, thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, he's a filmmaker, so he's supposed to know how these buttons work.
Right. No, but thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it. I know I'm a little more, I guess, of the new kid on the block in this regard, joining you folks. But yeah, just a quick little background about me. You know, my family originally moved to Hawaii in 1992 when I was 2 years old. My dad was in the U.S. Army at the time and accepted the position, or was assigned the position of Chief of Staff at Triple Army Medical Center. And yeah, from then on out, I ended up growing up in Hawaii. I went to Star of the Sea Catholic school, and then I graduated from Kalani High School and went to University of Hawaii at Manoa with my BA in political science. And then, yeah, shortly after that, I founded a film production company, small film production company, and worked on a TV show with producer Edgy Lee. And we worked together for a number of years, producing online content and content for television. And I've done extensive travel throughout the Pacific Rim specifically. And I've gained, what I feel like I've gained a lot of great insight and, you know, bring it home to Hawaii, where I'm most passionate and look to hopefully serve.
We will come back and talk more with you. I want to go around again and start with Tommy Waters. And because we are in this pandemic, and it seems to be getting worse in Hawaii every day, what is the county doing and the budget items to deal with this virus? It's unbelievable how this thing grows every day.
Thank you. Great question. So the federal government appropriated $387 million directly to the city. And it went right, and the administration has exclusive control over that. So we on the council were a little concerned about that. So with Chair Ikaika Anderson, we created the Economic Revitalization Committee, and he asked me to chair it. to have some sort of oversight over how this $387 million is spent. At this point, the administration did come up with two actually very unique plans that I'd like to share with you folks and try to drum up some not support, but more people to utilize these, because it's underutilized in my opinion. One is the rent relief fund, and the other is the small business relief fund. I'll start with the rent relief. It's you have to qualify and you apply, and it's oneoahu.org is the name of the website where you can apply if you need the help. And it is income based. And basically you can apply for $1,000 a month to help with your mortgage or your rent. In addition, if you have children and need daycare, you can apply for up to $500 a month in care. As far as the small business relief fund is concerned, the business can apply for a reimbursable grant of up to $10,000, and it's one time, and it's only for small businesses, and it has to be used for COVID-related expenses. Now, the federal government has been fairly strict about that, but COVID-related expenses, we've determined is your rent can be used to subsidize your rent. It also can be used if you need to buy, personal protective equipment, sanitizers, furniture that's necessary to ensure that people are kept safe. Now, there was $25 million allotted to each one of these. And as far as the business is concerned, we went through the 25 million fairly quickly. And if you ask me, that's really not enough for our small businesses. Our small businesses are, and you talked about Waialae Avenue. I represent Waialae Avenue, the small businesses in Waialae Avenue. And I met with the Kaimuki Business and Professional Association today and heard the stories from them directly about what kind of trouble they're in. And it's real. So I'm working with the administration to try to increase the funding for the small businesses. Now, I've been approached by the landlords because we decided to help the businesses themselves, but the landlords are needing help as well. But I'm trying to figure out language that can ensure that the landlords are going to pass on the relief to the businesses themselves. And I'm currently working on that language. But you're right, we're all hurting. Oh, the other one was food. We put $8 million towards different food distributions, and we burned through that fairly quickly. So I'm fighting to see if we can get more money out of that latest tranche to help with food. Interestingly, though, the administration wanted to use it to help the fire department, the police department, and the EMS, which I have no problem with. But, when you look at some of the things that the fire department or the police department wants to use the money for, it just doesn't really make sense. My feeling is it needs to get in the hands of the people who need it, right? That's the businesses and you folks, people, working families who are out there having a hard time.
Well, now, I have, and this is only with East Honolulu, but I've got an issue.
Sure.
And that's the parking lot of the Hawaii Kai Shopping Center.
Oh,
and
yes.
if we push, the landlord will only make the little businesses pay for the parking lot. How can we get money to those little businesses that they're going to pass on the cost to?
So may I address that? And I'm
Please.
sure there's a few other folks. So it's Kamehameha Schools who owns the shopping center. And so I've met with Kamehameha Schools now twice to try to get them to lean on their lessee who runs the shopping center. And without going into too much detail, it sounds like Kamehameha Schools is having a really, really hard time with this lessee. And they wouldn't tell me exactly, but I think they're not even paying the rent to Kamehameha Schools was my guess. Of course, don't quote me on that, but but that was what I gleaned from my conversation with them. And they're very well aware of what their lessee is doing, and they're leaning on them to get them to do this. Now, it is a private lot, right? So I'm not sure I can get money, taxpayer money, to pay for that.
Well, what I'm concerned about, and several other people here have voiced the same concern, and that is, if it's fixed, will the leaseor or whoever pass the cost down to those little businesses who are already struggling? Some of them haven't come back. What can we do to help them if that cost is passed down? That's my issue. And that affects all of everybody on here. If, you know, the one place in the whole world that fixes shoes and leather luggage is closed. You know, what do we do?
Well, I'm personally advocating that Kamehameha schools find a different lessee, right? Clearly, this current lessee is not a good actor. You know, that lot is terrible. People are falling down and getting hurt. And what I tried to explain to Kamehameha schools is, like, ultimately, you're the deep pocket, right? If this company goes out of business, Kamehameha schools is responsible. So they need to find a better lessee to run that parking lot. And I think that's where they're headed.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that.
Good.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Don't everybody on here will come back to that one. Stanley, talk to us about what the state is doing with the budget in this time of COVID-19.
Sure. All right. Thank you for the news also about that parking lot. I was wondering about that myself, so I appreciate the legwork, Councilmember Waters. Okay, so I pulled up the breakdown of the appropriations that the legislature just did for the CARES Act funding. The largest chunk of the funding, $230 million, will be going to provide an enhanced weekly benefit of $100 per week for recipients of unemployment insurance starting August 1st, when the $600 federal plus-up expires, and ending at the end of the year. So that'll—
Wait a minute. Let me get that right. Did I hear you say there's an additional $100 or just $100?
It's an additional $100.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so if you're currently receiving unemployment, you're getting an additional $600 from the federal government per week. And after this, you'll be getting an additional $100, but the federal 600 will have gone away by then.
Okay.
And that's the single largest chunk. That alone is $230 million. The second largest chunk is rental assistance of 50% of your rent, or $500 per month, whichever is less. And it'll be the same period from August through December. It'll be limited to households making no more than 100% of the area median income, so basically below average households, and of which there are approximately 34,000 in the state. And cost estimate will be $100 million. So that's the second largest chunk of this, of the federal funding. They haven't released details of how families will be able to apply for that yet. So hopefully those details will be coming out soon, because obviously I think I just read that over 30% of Hawaii families are missing their rent or mortgage payments. So it's a lot of people.
Well, you know, I know they say this about a hold on your rent if you're paying rent. However, if let's assume that you have 2 or 3 people that are renting from you, they don't pay their rent, then you don't get to pay your mortgage, you don't get to pay the electric bill for that house. So how is all of that for those people, for the top people, that these people are not paying to, who, you know, bought that house some years ago and now they're able to rent it to people? What happens to them?
Yeah, honestly, that's a really good question. Because you might have also just read the news today that the governor has extended the eviction moratorium for non-payment of rent by another month.
Yes.
So there are landlords who are getting squeezed, and you know, maybe they're eligible for one of these small business assistance programs, but honestly, there has not been a direct effort to help with these small landlords.
That, you know, I understand, and that's, you know, but when you look at everybody that's involved in the pyramid, it's not just one person here, but a lot of people, and then they have to pay their mortgage and their taxes, and they've got to keep the electricity on and all of that. I don't know if have we looked at, honestly, have we looked at the owners of these rental properties?
I agree with you, Marcia. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, it's not just the mortgage, right? I mean, there's vendors, there's, you know, security people, there's maintenance people. It really does ripple through the economy. And I definitely think that and hope that there will be aid for landlords as well.
Yeah. Well, wow. How is the state plugging the hole that the TAT, without the TAT? What are you doing?
Well, in short, the state has kind of drained all the rainy day funds and all of the existing low-hanging fruit right now just to get through this year's budget. They've also done some things like instead of paying for the stadium and the rental housing revolving fund to help affordable housing with cash, they're instead selling bonds to pay for those. But there is a limit to those kind of accounting procedures and to you know, shifting the money around in buckets. And you know, in my personal opinion, unless Congress gets the states a major bailout package, we are in very, very deep kimchi. There will be really severe layoffs, furloughs. There was talk earlier this year about furloughs, not just 1 day a week or 1 day every 2 weeks for public employees, but a 40% furlough, which would mean 2 days a week for public employees. And obviously at that level, you know, if you're cutting people's wages by 40%, you're talking about really devastating social impacts. You know, people not being able to pay rent, like you said, or buy groceries or keep the lights on. And that's without congressional intervention, there is very little that the state can do. The state can theoretically borrow money, but without additional revenue, it's not going to be able to pay back any loans, even with 0% interest, right? So the bottom line is we're all waiting, we're anxious to hear what Congress is going to do.
Yes. Wow. Listen, let's go to Bert. Bert, talk to us about what's going on in District 19.
Within the district?
Yes.
Well,
And
as you
and
know,
the COVID. Yeah.
within the district, relatively little. As you know, our district is pretty much built up. We don't have empty space for large developments. It's so in terms of what's physically happening, not too much. In terms of COVID, we have the highest percentage and the highest absolute number of senior citizens in District 19 relative to the other 50 House districts. So economically, District 19 is fairly well off. That is, these people are not, are more than any other district likely to be retired and not working at a, shall we say, tenuous situation.
So it's a stable community, is that, since it's an old
Yes.
community? Yeah.
Yes. I think that the concern that I have is actually financial beyond this year. The secret that most people, including most legislators, don't know is that the governor and the legislature are on two separate tracks in terms of balancing the budget. The legislature balances the budget on a 2-year basis. That is, we have a biennium budget. And we have just passed a budget that theoretically could be balanced if the governor does one or various things, including borrowing money from the feds, including possibly cutting pay. However, the governor is on a different budget track. He has to present to the legislature a 6-year balanced budget. So as Stanley has said, the one-time fixes like spending down on the Hurricane Relief Fund will be gone after this year. And so what is left but cutting into bone, cutting into muscle of the budget? So that's the big concern that I have. The next budget as presented by the governor for a balanced budget for 6 years.
Oh dear. Mark? Hey. Unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, well, let me follow up with that. Yeah,
Please do.
they are absolutely correct. I do not see I don't see any way out of this. The hole is just way too big. I went through this in 2010 when the economic downturn, and in 2010, the way we filled the budget was to basically, you need to increase taxes. You're going to have to do furloughs, and you're going to have to cut budgets. So a combination of those three. This year, because the federal government is allowing the city, or not the city, but the state and city municipalities to borrow money. So there's another option on the table. So this year, I think there was $900 million, $600 to $900 million in the budget to borrow to fill that hole. But, I want to go back and kind of but ask Councilmember Waters. It sounded like the state and the county has two similar programs. Like the state is doing the $500 rent assistance to people that can't pay rent. And is there, the one thing that the state cannot do is property tax. And I've been getting emails now, going back to Marsha's question, right? You were saying about what about the landlords and what can they do? And I've been getting emails regarding property tax and property tax relief, but that's nothing of the state. It's not the state's jurisdiction. We don't have anything on that. Is there any way that some of the funds could go to supplement the property tax payments?
So in our Rent Relief Act, our funds, you can use both the renters and the landlords can make that available. Again, it's only $1,000, which isn't enough. I think if both the state and the city should kick in a little bit more money, because anybody who lives in East Honolulu knows that your rent and your mortgage is way more than $1,500. So we're putting in more than you, but you guys need to step it up and put in a little more, if you ask me.
No, I
fighting to
agree
put-
with you.
I'm fighting to put in more money. I don't think $1,000 is enough. And then I'm hearing you guys are only putting in 500.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, ours is only 500. We only put in but I mean,
But Mark,
what I'm
So,
saying,
so just to be
But-
clear though, we cannot use CARES money to fill in the gaps. It has to be
Ye-
COVID related, and that's the difficult part. So I'm actually working on trying to figure out how we can use the money to give to the folks so that they can then use it to pay their taxes, right?
Yes,
Which is kind of
that-
a workaround, but I'm
that-
working on that, and I don't want to.
well, that was the point that I was trying to get at, because no sense we do the same thing, right? So maybe, well, Bert can chime in, and Councilmember Chang can
so
chime in on
that's
this too.
exactly
So
the
Well,
point,
I-
Tommy.
I just want to
Stay in
ask
the
one
shi-
question. No, wait, I'll come right back to you. I
Okay,
want to go over here and talk to Keith.
Yeah.
Keith is from, I know this is kind of out of the way, however, he is running for office against Gene Ward. So I'm asking you to ask all of Gene's constituents to tell Gene to get on the phone and call Moscow Mitch and tell him to get past that bill. It's sitting there on his desk. So I want you to ask everybody that you go door to door that's voting for Gene Ward, tell them to tell Gene to get on the phone.
Well, you know,
What good is it being a Republican if you can't use
yeah, that's exactly my point. I mean, he's been a Republican all these years. If he's going to benefit at least the state of Hawaii,
Yeah.
decide to
Come
use the
on.
Republican tie to, as the legislators have already mentioned, to get off the butt and pass the HEROES Act.
Yes.
Otherwise, I agree with Senator Chang. We're looking at severe cuts. I mean, basically, you know, my background is as a CPA, and I'm working at the state government for even though a short period of time. Well, I'm not surprised that those kinds of numbers are coming out if we don't get that HEROES Act passed.
Well, see, you're in a great position. The rest of us can't do that, but you're in a great position to tell all of Gene's people to get him on the phone to Moscow Mitch and say, pass the HEROES bill.
Yeah, I agree. I've been on the
Yeah.
phone calling, trying to reach as many voters in District 17.
Yeah, that's right. Let's tell them to tell him. Yeah. Since the rest of us don't have a connection to the Republicans. So,
You got it.
yes. Mark, I cut you off in the middle of the sentence, so complete.
I don't remember. I think Bert, Representative
Bert was
Kobayashi
getting
was
it. Okay,
saying
Bert.
something, yes. But Representative Kobayashi and I were just talking to Councilmember Waters, saying that we need to try and coordinate this, because it sounds like we're doing the same thing. So I
Right.
don't control the budget, so I really don't have too much say on it. But yeah, I mean, anyways,
So
So-
that is exactly the point, Tommy. City and the state should not be doing the same thing. One of the reasons why the state is concerned is that we don't seem to have a city budget for where the $387 million is going to go. So it's like, surprise, city announces the program and woo, it now includes something that the state is already doing. For instance, buying personal protective equipment. If the city would draft a budget, even if it has to be done through council, shall we say, enactment, I think that will help coordinate using the money from the feds more efficiently. Thanks.
Can I suggest the reason that I asked this county and the state and the House together for that very reason, because we don't get to talk to all of you together. In fact, the Senate has one set of meetings, the House has another, the City Council has another, and this is the only time all of us get together.
Well, that's
have we
great,
had
but
this before?
you
When
know,
we can
just
talk to all of you at the same time.
so we are all on the same page. The federal government did allot $1.25 billion, right, to the state of Hawaii, of which, because of the size of our city, the city got 387 million. And we started to go to work right away. And the state got the rest of that money. So somewhere near $1 billion, right? Something like just minus 387 from 1.25 billion. So you're right. We should stay in our own lane and we shouldn't duplicate services. But looking at it another way, you know, if the state's gonna allot $500 per household, right? And we're allotting 1,000, that's 1,500. That's still not enough money, you know? So I think we can work together where you folks kick in a little bit more money, we kick in a little bit more money to help people who need it. As far as PPE, personal protective equipment, I think you're right that we shouldn't be duplicating it. But for us, like the ambulance, so it's already clear, we're trying to retrofit the ambulances so that our EMS workers who are taking sick people don't either infect the patient or themselves get infected. So there's things like that we're already doing. But, you know, I can't argue with that we should stay in our own lane. But the bulk of the money went to the state, not the city.
But I
Just want to
still
make
think,
that clear.
yeah,
Yes,
I
no,
think
he's,
that we need to do this fairly regular, because this is the only time that we get to talk to the state and the county at the same time, the city and the state at the same time. So anyway, I want to keep moving here so we don't get bogged down. We have one person we haven't talked to, and that is another Tommy.
Right.
Hi, Tommy.
Two Tommies going on here. Love
Yes,
it.
Tommy's. Now,
Yeah, no, it's a number of issues that have already been touched here, all of which are very important. You know, for the state budget, I don't think there's no easy answer, and there's going to most likely be hard decisions that have to be made. But what I do know that is very important is that we shouldn't necessarily single out any particular group for furlough or pay cuts. Like, we shouldn't single out teachers or HEDA or UPW. Everyone should collectively share in whatever burden needs to be taken, starting with the governor and cabinet and the legislature and on down. I think that's very important to everyone. And, you know, to touch again what you mentioned, what Tommy Waters was speaking of, and you, Marsha, you were talking about small business and the leather shoe store that was closed. Where am I going to go and, you know, take care of the shoes or whatnot? And that, you know, that applies to many various industries. And I think, again, that whatever we do, we should do all that we can, right? We should do all that we can to support small business, but there are other systemic issues within the Hawaiian economy that need to be addressed as well. Of course, as we all know, that our over-reliance on tourism to begin with makes us not only vulnerable, but it makes it so that, you know, if we're only reliant on one industry, then, you know, it's a dangerous situation. And as government, we have the ability to create incentives for other industries, particularly, let's say, sustainable industries, to help grow the Hawaiian economy from now in the future into the future going forward. Because, you know, we can create various package plans from state, federal, we can lend aid, but ultimately the issue, again, is more systemic in the sense that, you know, we need to focus on helping Hawaii be able, right, to further develop in its economic future. And I think addressing that in the right way, really, ultimately, in the long run, will be what helps us.
Are there any of our audience that would like to ask any of the candidates questions? Anybody, raise your hand if there's anybody out there that wants to ask questions. That
Or
has, huh?
if we, sorry, Marcia, just a lot of people we can't see. So just unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question, and we'll try to take turns and be civil.
Well, okay, while we're waiting, let's talk about probably the most important thing right now, and that is voting. So, voting by mail. And they're going to send out the ballots on, when, Thursday or Friday this week? And so, and everything's done by mail. So if you have constituents that ask, where is the polling place? There are no polling places. None, none, none. You can go to Honolulu Holly and vote, or you can go to Kapolei Holly and vote. Otherwise, it's done by mail. Hopefully you're already registered. I guess everybody that's playing our game is registered. Anyway, yes.
Oh, and at the end of the meeting, if anybody is not registered or has serious questions about voting, please hang out and we'll try to help you through that.
Stay with us.
At the end of the meeting.
Okay. Now, we do have a picture of the polling drop-off box. So you will get it in the mail, you fill it out, put it in the security envelope, and there's another envelope, and you have here, East Honolulu, right? This little hookah right here. The blue spots represent where you can, there is a blue box where you can drop off. And, but that is important, and that you do not wait until election day. They have to be in the clerk's office before election day. And Tommy understands that one very well. Tommy Waters, that is. We've been through that election day mess. No, they have to be in the clerk's office before election day. So don't wait. As soon as you get it in the mail, fill it out and send it back. Like I said, they're the drop-off places, and but the easiest is just put it in the mailbox.
May I make a comment on that, please?
Please.
The importance of mailing your ballot in early is that if there's a problem with your ballot, it can be remedied, right? If you wait to the last minute, you know, if your signature doesn't match, or if there's any irregularities, you can call to make sure that your ballot was accepted if you get it in early. But if you wait to the last minute, you might miss that opportunity. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Marsha.
Now, what is showing now is a ballot for, blank ballot for District 17. And as you can see, they list the parties here, but we're not going to worry about that. But we have here on Democrats for District 17, Ed Case, Stanley Chang, Keith Kogachi, and somebody here, Calvin Griffin, whoever that is.
That's nonpartisan.
Yeah. And then we have the American Shopping Party. Oh my. And the Constitution Party.
So
and
Marsha,
yes.
Marsha, you cannot cross party lines in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to vote for only one party. So if you vote for nonpartisan, then you only get that one vote.
One vote.
So
yes.
We want to encourage people to vote just the party,
just
Democratic Party.
Just this little piece right here. 1, 2, 3, 1.
That's it.
2, 3 people. That's it.
That's it. Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
And then, of course,
Joiner lady,
if you go
she's-
down, there is the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and then there's the mayor. And other than you and me, everybody in the world's running for mayor. So, but if you go through this column here, is the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And that's important. And just because you're not Hawaiian doesn't mean you can't vote. So I'm asking, please, that you vote, because that is, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is important to all of us. And again, like Tommy says, if there's anything wrong with the ballot, get it in on time. Now, the Office of Elections has everything that we have shown you. You can, any questions, they have tons and tons of stuff that answers all the questions. And I don't know what else to say except how important it is that we vote and we vote and we vote and we vote. And I know I've heard people, even though, because we've always done it, people are saying to me, where's our polling place? So we do have to get the people that do not have computers, that do not know, please, 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 for those of you that are canvassing, please tell people that it is important that they do it by mail. I don't know how else to do this. So that's the most important thing that I have. Now let's go to any other people with questions. Anybody else with questions? No? That's awfully quiet.
Okay, Marcia.
Yes.
Marcia, I
Cynthia.
have one question, a little confusion. My understanding was that the ballots had to be received by a certain time.
Yes.
Okay, because tonight on the news, I heard that it had to be postmarked by a certain
No.
time.
No. They have to be in the clerk's hand.
So that needs to be made very clear to people so we don't end up with problems again as Tommy
the last.
knows.
Yes. And also, now, because all of you Democrats, you know this, but there will be people that are going to be bent out of shape because there's no governor on, no president on the ballot. Now, we've been through this because we had a primary earlier, and the Republicans don't have a primary because they only have one candidate. But there will be people who will be, oh, this is un-American, this is not, why isn't there a presidential candidate on the ballot, and blah, 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 blah. So please, if for those of you that are canvassing, please make it clear that's not a mistake. It's already happened. You know, that we are already voted for our candidate for president. We did that. And so, like I said, for those of you that are canvassing, those are the kind of questions that come up. Cynthia, did you have something?
I have a comment to make to Keith.
Yep.
And it's regard you taking on Gene Ward. You know, he's quite an institution in himself. Yep. He's always quite visible. I live in Hahaione Valley, a block away from your district, your district rather. Gene Ward lives in 17, I live in 18. I always see him out walking. He's always got his t-shirt on with Ward across it. He gets out at all different times with the dog walkers, late at night when it's dark, when it's in season and sign waving time, he's out there sign waving, even if he doesn't have any opposition. How do you plan on taking him on? I give you all the credit in the world.
Well, I guess I pose the question back to you guys. I mean, what has he done for us in the last 16 years?
I don't know.
That's when I get on the phone with a lot of our voters in our district. And I'm still kind of wondering, I still haven't gotten a solid response when I asked them, well, what has he, I mean, they've come up with certain things on environment and some of the issues like the shopping center, but at the end of the day, the shopping centers still have those potholes, right?
Well, he sends out birthday cards, so
Yeah.
evidently they must enjoy his birthday cards.
Yeah.
And he's a familiar name. They're
Right.
used to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he has all those personal touches, but you know, we're in a different environment. I mean, I think it's clear. You've heard from the current legislators. I mean, the number one priority we got to deal with, obviously, is the budget. Otherwise, we're in for some really, as Senator Chang put it himself too, is it's going to be a very bad situation for the whole state, including our district, which might be able to tolerate maybe more of these layoffs or pay cuts that might have to come down the road should the federal government not step in with the HEROES Act. So at the end of the day, I think we need people of my background with a more financial background, because it's just not going to be pleasant over the next 2 to 5 years. I mean, tourism hopefully comes back, but it's going to be a while. People
I agree.
may not want to come back because even if Hawaii has the lowest rates of infection and deaths, you know, their personal safety is a concern for them. So they're not going to necessarily want to just come over to Hawaii like they did prior to pre-COVID, right? So I think it is going to be a slow process. And I think we need legislators that have more of a financial background, because that's what's going to take. We're going to have to
Which is
fight for every
excellent.
dollar we can get, whether it's from the feds, which is still pending with that HEROES Act, but also we're going to have to make some tough decisions, not just pay cuts, but you know, possibly having to reorganize government in terms of trying to become more efficient going forward. So this is not a good situation. I mean, obviously we just lack the federal leadership right now. And I think one thing I wanted to make clear is, and it's part of why I'm running, you know, Hawaii is not alone in all of this, right? Obviously, if you see the news every day, CNN or whatever news station you focus on, every state, especially the large states, are having a major resurgence. That led the governor to have to pull back or push back the opening of our state to tourism. So all these states, along with us, have major budget problems to deal with. So they're going to be faced with some difficult decisions on how they manage their budget that more than likely will result in furloughs, pay cuts, or outright layoffs. We're not alone in this. And I think we should not focus too inward in sometimes and starts you know, being critical of each other. I think we need to work together more. And, you know, we should be pressing our leadership in DC to move this forward. Obviously, the Democrats in the House did their part and they passed the HEROES Act. And so, I think we were sort of joking about this in terms of Gene. Well, this is his time to come forward and stand up. And I'm going to make it an issue.
You have the advantage, the financial background.
He should have the connections all these years of being a Republican to now take advantage of it and talk to some of the people in DC and it's not just our state, like I said, practically every state will need some assistance in the form of what's pending or is currently drafted in the HEROES Act. I mean, you talked about rental assistance, mortgage assistance. That's also part of the HEROES Act, as well as extending the $600 a week plus up until January. That's part of the HEROES Act. So, Gene has maintained his position of being a Republican all these years. Now it's time for him to step up and do something for the state.
And be a Republican, yes. The
Marsha,
other topic.
Oh, yeah, but Amy Monk also has a question when you want to get to her.
Actually, I wanted to go back to a question that wasn't finished. And if Bert or Stanley or Mark could just let me know where to find the information. I want to know where the CARES Act money went. Stanley mentioned one thing, but there's a lot more. And if you can send it to me, or if you know off the top of your head, I would really appreciate knowing how that breakdown came out.
Amy, this is Stanley. I'd be happy to send that to you. In fact, I'll send it to Marsha and she can distribute it to
Yes,
all today.
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Question,
No
please.
problem.
Can I go to our other candidate? We have not talked to the other Tommy here. And then we'll come back to questions, please. Tommy?
Yes. Hi.
Now, you had mentioned other forms of not only agriculture, but other businesses that we should look at, since it doesn't look like we're going to really have the kind of tourism that we had before. So what are your ideas? Tell us what your ideas are.
Well, I mean, I think in general, we all have either subconsciously or somewhat consciously known that our over-reliance on tourism is an Achilles heel for Hawaii. It's just that it took this pandemic, you know, this kind of 1-2 blow to really see, for it to, you know, the problem to come into effect. There's tons of things. I mean, I think that the legislature has the ability to create incentives, tax incentives, to bolster various industries in Hawaii. And again, sustainability, which sustainability I think is very important to Hawaii in general. And, you know, we shouldn't be over-reliant on all our goods and products coming from the mainland. Just like as a whole, the US has learned how reliant they are on China for their PPE, for our PPE needs. And, you know, in Hawaii, from what I've seen, and I think we all can agree here, is that there's a very entrepreneurial spirit in Hawaii. You see a lot of new, well, there were a lot of new and flourishing businesses in the Kaka'ako area, in Chinatown. And I think that our job as legislatures, if I were to be one, would be to help lend them a hand so that they can get started, not penalize them up front, because, you know, Hawaii has some of the most expensive operating costs, startup costs for a startup business in the entire United States. There's many industries that can be touched. Like you said, I mentioned agriculture, there's energy, and a number of like small business type of deals, you know, whether it's restaurants or other services. But I think that, yeah, again, that's one of the important things here, is to help the folks that do want to get out there and do want to get their business, their passion behind whatever it is that they are passionate about, to help create an environment that supports them and doesn't penalize them with high costs up front, which does and will continue to push them out of the state to other low cost states as well.
Thank you.
Now, can I ask my question?
Yes, please. That's exactly where I was going with that.
Thank you. I want to go back to Keith Kogachi. I got your flyer in the mail, and you're asking, what has Gene done? Well, Gene's done a lot of things, but it's been more community focused. It hasn't been so much Republican. Sometimes I think he's a closet Democrat, except on some things. But I'd just like to say that just saying you have a financial background and you're a CPA, it doesn't sell. So I want to hear from you what you're going to do with that knowledge. What's your platform? Where do you want to put the focus? What do you want to put the energy and the money into? And I would just suggest that you get that word out to people.
Yeah.
Not so much about, you know, how to do numbers. Because a lot of us, our eyes glaze over when you start talking about CPAs. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, if you let me respond, I think the unfortunate part of this is we're in this COVID situation, and it's obviously created significant economic damage. So, you know, my priority would be is, first of all, we need to get as much as we can from the federal government, And I know there's this discussion among the current legislators about, you know, what the state should be doing, the city should be doing. And that's exactly where I think we should be focused on initially. And it's like I say, I think it's a multiple year effort. I think Representative Kobayashi mentioned the governor has a 6-year requirement to balance a budget. So unfortunately, there are a lot of other things that we want to deal with, whether it's affordable housing, whether we want to deal with the environment, protection of our shorelines, rising sea levels, to other things that are still current, like police reform, crime. Obviously, we have the ongoing situation, not so much maybe in East Honolulu, but in definitely other parts of the state and the island, is homelessness. So these are things, and we still have the ongoing thing about trying to improve our educational system, dealing with teacher shortages in key areas, whether it's special education or in Hawaiian languages. And, you know, we cannot ignore those things, but it just seems like, given that this pandemic is so pervasive and has caused so much damage economically, I mean, you know, when you get 22% unemployment rate, I mean, I think we need people that can look at the numbers and start figuring out, how do we figure out immediately a way? And I think the only way out, as Senator Chang mentioned, was we got to keep pushing on the feds. This is a national, global problem. I mean, yeah, we want to talk about all these other things, yeah. And that's my issue with Jean, by the way. I think it's good to be community-based, obviously, but you know, I think especially now in these times, I think the issues we face with high unemployment of 23% is just not acceptable. It's just, you know, it's just causing too much damage, social damage to the home, families. And, you know, we're starting to see, maybe not so much in Hawaii, but I would think at some point, it may start showing itself, but on the mainland now, you know, maybe crime is rising and it could be attributed to the pandemic. So, you know, these are things that maybe are not nice stuff to deal with in terms of what Gene has dealt with. And yeah, I'll give him that. But I just don't think this is the time for that type of background.
Keith,
yeah.
We only have a few minutes left, so I want everybody, anybody that's got any questions, please.
Marsha, I think Juanita Kawamoto has a question.
Juanita?
Yes.
Juanita?
Okay, I guess, Juanita, we cannot hear you.
I have a question. Oh. Marsha mentioned that we should be voting for the OHA candidate of choice. And I have to admit that is my absolute weakest section of any ballot I've had to deal with over the last several years. It's hard to keep tracking what the relevant issues are. I read the papers. I mean, I know what some of the scandals are, but I don't know what the real focus should be. And I certainly don't know the individuals who are candidates other than the banners that show up on the highway. I don't know if there's some way of incorporating some of that because there's nowhere else to go. I can find out about state finances, and I can find out about city council statutes that are being considered, but I don't really know where to go to find, to choose good candidates for OHA.
Well, I'll put this up to a vote. Shall we do this with the OHA candidates? If there's anybody out there that wants to do this with OHA candidates. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So if somebody wants, we can do this. 8 with the OHA candidates. It's okay with me. The price is the same. 9. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do this. Like I said, the price is the same. And that's a good idea because I asked a friend who has a friend that's running, it's like, okay, who are these people and what does OHA do and who are the candidates? So Aaron, let's get to work on that. And any other questions?
Sure, I have a question actually from Juanita Kawamoto. She sent by text. Her question is about senior daycare, and is there funding to help their families right now?
Is that a state or a county issue?
I think it could be both. I don't know.
Tommy Waters, is that an issue, senior daycare?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I'll definitely look at it, and I can respond to Juanita Kawamoto directly tomorrow
Okay.
to see if the city has any. Are we talking about using the COVID money?
Any kind of money, I would think.
I think it could be any funding to help people now.
Yeah.
Marsha, if I may, from folks that I've spoken to in our district, I know for sure that adult daycare is definitely an issue, and the lack of adult daycare available. Hawaii is of course unique in a sense that we have probably more multi-generational living than any other state in the entire country because of the high cost, right? High cost of living. And, there's a number of things, again, that whether it's city, state, a combination of the two, that can create, again, let's say incentives for private adult daycare, make it a higher priority within the Department of Health, and, pursue opportunities for public-private partnership as well. Because again, that definitely is an issue.
I'm sure both the state and the city do a lot for adult daycare. I just don't have those figures handy. So I'd be happy to, at least from the city side, Juanita, to get those funds for you. I'll reach out to you tomorrow.
And are there any other questions? Bert?
From the state side, the state has for several years funded 2 programs relating to daycare. One is called Kapuna Caregivers, and the other one is Kapuna Care. Kapuna Caregivers is something that provides a subsidy, so to speak, for people who are working and who would like to continue to work, but otherwise, because of kapuna, that is seniors, grandparents, etc., they might have to quit their jobs to take care of grandmother or grandfather. So we have those 2 programs. Agree, both of them could be expanded.
Any other questions? Stephanie?
Yeah, actually, it's not really a question. It's a comment. I just wanted to thank all the elected officials who have been working so hard during this pandemic time. I mean, it's unprecedented. It's something that no one would have ever expected. And for this to be the longest legislative session in the shortest amount of session days was just kind of crazy. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
It has been crazy.
Sweet.
But it's been an opportunity to at least watch it on through your home on Zoom and on Olelo to watch what's going on. So more people get to see it than those of us that take the time and show up. So it's been good. So again, thank you. Yeah.
Marsha, we did have one call-in participant later. I'm going to unmute them now if they have any questions.
Please.
Hello, person calling in on a regular phone line. If you have any questions at this point, feel free. If anybody who's not showing video also has any questions, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask.
No
Okay.
more questions?
Just wanted to check.
Hey, Marsha, can I make a quick plug?
Yes.
So we passed 2 resolutions recently that create a question on the ballot. One is whether or not to create a youth commission. You know, when we passed the ban on single-use plastics, in large part it was because our young people got really involved. This is going to be their Hawaii, right? So I drafted and we passed a resolution 19-329, which basically is going to be a question on the ballot as to whether or not we should create a youth commission. The youth commission will advise the city on various issues. So I hope people will support that. Also, I drafted and we got passed through the city council resolution 19-331, strengthening our ethics commission. Basically, as you know, a lot of times different departments are attached administratively to other departments, and that larger department typically controls the budget. And that's the case with the ethics commission. But so what resolution 19-331 is saying that if we, the city council, allots money to the ethics commission, nobody can restrict it. It goes to them. And I think that'll further strengthen our ethics commission. So if folks have any further questions, please contact me. But it's going to be on the general election ballot. But 2 very important, I believe, questions. So thank you.
So that's in the November ballot and not this one?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions? What about the call-in? You said somebody had a call-in?
Yes, and they're unmuted if they have anything they want to add at this point. And so, Marsha, it sounds like we are going to set up a meeting for OHA candidates.
Oh, yes,
so,
we will.
All right,
We
you
have
let me
enough
know.
people here that say they want to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Now, can I go around one more time? And in this corner is the other Tommy. So tell us why you want to run for office.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm running for office is, Hawaii's my home, and I'm passionate for government and legislature. It's what I studied. It's, aside from travel and film, or equal to, politics has always been my biggest interest. And I feel like we're in interesting times now. Things are changing, and we're dealing with all kind of various things that we had not seen before. And, I'm young, and I'm ready to get to work and in this regard. And, I'm running a campaign that's not accepting any monetary donations, so I'm putting Hawaii and our community in first as my #1 priority.
Great. Keith?
Oh, thank you, Marsha, for arranging this. I'm running because I think I can contribute based on my background, especially in these times, unfortunately. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, we have a tough road ahead. And hopefully I can contribute based on my background and experiences.
Thank you. Bert does not have a challenger. Tommy is good for another 4 years.
2 years.
3 years, okay. And Mark and Noah. Hi, Noah.
Hello.
Okay.
I'm running for office just to the same thing, trying to make Hawaii better. I lived in many different places, and I know how it is. It's a lot easier to make ends meet on the mainland. Or for my case, I worked in Japan, so it's just trying to, for the next generation of Hawaii, right? That's why we are all here. So.
Thank you. Now, anybody else that we have 12 minutes left. So anyone else, anybody that raise your hand, tell us. We've got names down here that have just been listening and nobody said anything. So please, Bart, are you still there? Bart? He's a national, just got elected as a national committeeman.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening and learning, which is an unusual experience for me. So I'll just continue to shut up.
Congratulations, Bart.
Congratulations. What is a national committeeman?
Well, the Democratic Party, the National Party, has a national committee, which is sort of the mega large board of directors of the Democratic Party. Our main function is to run the national convention and the nominating process, the primaries that elect delegates. In addition, we provide a lot of technical support to candidates who are running for offices from dog catcher up to the presidency, including U.S. Senate. We're trying to get back control of the U.S. Senate this election cycle and retain control of the House. So it's interesting. 4 years ago is when I was elected, just prior to the Philly convention, and we had a lot of challenges in the DNC. The DNC's reputation was quite damaged. It's in optics, and we've been spending the last 4 years trying to find the right combination of reform to get rid of the problems, as well as provide a basis for forging unity. And I'm actually, I went in there and I supported Keith Ellison to be national chair. But when Tom Perez won and he held up the hand of Keith Ellison and asked that the rules be suspended so he could name Keith as his deputy, that was the beginning of a very real partnership and a unification effort. And we're seeing that again this cycle. When Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race, he gave up the opportunity to have a lot of delegates. But Joe Biden said, no, if you continue to win delegates, we're going to give you at-large delegates and committee assignments as well. And they forged unity task force to come up with a platform. So the unity I'm seeing this cycle around pervades the DNC. It's radiating from both the Sanders and the Biden campaigns. And I think it puts us in a good spot to defeat Donald Trump in the fall and hopefully take back control of the U.S. Senate. So I'm interested. I'm learning a heck of a lot in that arena, and I want to continue to do that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bart. Amy, are you still with us?
I am.
Amy also won as National Committee woman.
That's right.
So, Amy?
And what's really interesting is here we are in East Honolulu, and we have a real powerhouse of national delegates going to the DNC. And all of us are focused on replacing President Trump with Democratic President Joe Biden. And that's going to be our laser focus for the next 4 months.
And we got to replace Moscow Mitch.
Oh, David wants me to remember that we have to flip the Senate too.
Yeah.
So we
Moscow
need
Mitch, yes.
a net 4 more seats.
Yeah, 4 seats.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Amy.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm hearing a voice, but I don't know who it is. Mark?
No, I'm not speaking. Oh, you know what? It might be the TV in the background. Let me mute myself.
Oh, okay. Now, Lorna, are you still there? Lorna is Oahu County Chair.
Hi. Yes, I am. How are you? And you've done such a great job. This is wonderful. I just think it's great. And I can't believe that everybody is here together in one kind of East Oahu Ohana. And thank you. Thank you for participating and being a part of this.
Well,
and I look forward to the OHA one. Let's do it.
We have OHA, and then we'll be back in October for the general.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, but again, thank you for your help, for Oahu County's help in making all of this. And there's so many people to thank. Aaron has really been a jewel. Yes. And Derek, where
That
are
was
you?
applause.
Yes. Derek was here someplace, but he helped with the banner and all the other little things that I call on him to do. There he is. Hi, Derek. Thank you. There are so many. Thank you all for so much, especially the new candidates, Tommy, the other Tommy, and Keith, who have, really, from the minute I called them until now, they have been so willing to play with us and so willing to be a part. So thank you again for everybody.
Thank you, Marsha.
And thank you, Marsha. Yes.
Thank you, Marsha.
And my little friend Noah. Hi, Noah. The first time we started with this, Noah was not with us yet. He was on the way. So
he wasn't even around.
He's been with us all of these years, yes. So again, all of you, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And we will go to work tomorrow on OHA. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody does have any specific
Hi.
questions about
Any more
voting
questions?
things, I'll stay around until just hang out till the end.
Any more questions? Anybody?
You can
Good
leave
job.
anytime
Well,
otherwise.
You can write to me.
Can I just say thank you for taking on the OHA question? I didn't mean to give you all more work.
No, it's worth doing.
Just to deal with my own ignorance.
No, it's worth doing, Alice, because I don't know. I didn't have any idea who these people are. And
Alice, we might put you to work now.
Yeah.
If I can,
the only person we've ever had in our district was Rowena, and she was the only person we knew that, and she's a delegate, incidentally, but she was the only one we knew that was a member of OHA. So she was, what can you say?
There are major ramifications based on the recent court decision on OHA funds, their properties, how it affects our budgets, most of that on public lands. So there are just so many issues that we really should be understanding.
We will do that. Thank
Alice,
you for asking.
Alice, would you like to help us with the questions?
Yes.
All right, there you go.
There, yes. That's two. And anybody else that wants to help is welcome, because I think this is most important.
Okay, well, I'll help you round up. I'll help you round up candidates. I don't know them all, but I know some of them.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Derek, you're going to help? Of course. Thank you.
Too bad we lost Roy Benham.
Oh, yes.
He was always a lot of guidance.
Yes. Roy lived here at Kawapa Isle from the time it was built. So I have a tree in my front yard that he planted. And most of the original foliage here at Kawapa Isle he planted. So yes, it was sad to lose him. But anybody else? Okay.
Aloha, Marsha. This is Lynn.
Aloha.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for, although I'm not from East Honolulu, I am part of the exec committee for the Oahu County Democrats. And our exec committee has talked about how important these forums are to do candidate, forums. So great job. And mahalo again for letting me, see all of it. Thank you to all the candidates, and I can't wait to share how important this is moving forward.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Star, thank you. Jesse, there you are, down in the corner.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank
Jesse.
you for this is great. I've moved to Hawaii Kai about 4 years ago, and it's a great community. I like living here. I used to live downtown, what used to be Senate District 12, and was in the State Central Committee, and help defeat the Republican there. And so I'm looking to help out now on the east side with my great neighbors.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jesse.
Jesse, thank you so much. Anybody else? Jesse, are you running for State Central Committee?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Terrific. That
Now,
is
your
so
district, you are district
9.
17?
Senate
9.
District 9 running for, yeah.
18. 18.
He's in 18?
Yes.
Wasn't it Senate
it-
District 9? Am I getting it?
Yes,
you're
no,
right.
you're correct.
The
Senate
Senate-
District
Oh, okay.
9.
Senate
All right.
District 9. Senate District 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcia, with your
Yes.
permission, I'll go ahead and we can go ahead and end the official meeting, and I'll stop recording. And then if people want to
That's
continue
fine.
chatting, so
Yeah, okay.
I'll officially stop the recording, and
So,
you can keep talking though.
yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you,